Hey y'all, well, wait a minute. That's not even my intro. Welcome back to the tomfoolery that is my little corner of the internet. I put you guys through a little bit of a test. I wanted to make sure that you really wanted to see part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, of this documentary before I invested the 6 fucking hours into doing it. And you know what? Your comments, they gave me a little chuckle. You know, you guys understood the assignment. So here I am back for part 2. I did drink some wine off camera because you know what, guys? I love a documentary, okay? But like, sometimes if I'm just high, then I'm sitting here like, dots are not connecting. You know, I'm thinking about Rosa Parks being on the back of the bus and shit. You know what I mean? So today we're gonna have a nice balance, a nice crossfade, okay? So I hope you guys are ready. Please leave a like on the video. Make sure you comment, okay? Let me know that you want to see part 3, even though I'm already invested. The algorithm doesn't know that, okay? So like, let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Last thing, before we get into it, because I did see some tussling in the comments. Don't get your panties in a twist, y'all. Look, I've reacted to enough documentaries on this channel to understand that all of them have false information in them. Unless the documentary is produced by the artists themselves, there is always going to be a bit of false information somewhere. It's just kind of what it is. So I understand. Whatever false information you guys feel is in this documentary, you just correct it down below. I'll read the comments, and you know, that's how I'll form my opinions. But no need to fight each other in the comments. It's all love and peace. Let's just get into it.
Or agent, it was Dump who was there for YoungBoy during the most turbulent years of his come-up, but Dump would ultimately end up losing his life in 2018, seemingly as a direct result of the deadly street beef between these two warring Baton Rouge gang sets. But we'll go much deeper into that situation later on in the story. Another person who played a significant role on the management side is someone called Fee Banks.
Wait guys, I'm so sorry. He looks like someone. He looks like someone, right? This is not even me being funny. And you know what? He reminds me of that villain in the Vector. Is that his
No.
name? In the orange jacket from like the first Despicable Me movie, right? I mean, no disrespect. But you see it, right? Right.
Young Money and previously managed Kevin Gates. These people are the brains and administrators behind the NBA empire. And then, when it comes to the rapping side, we have a number of NBA members with a much closer proximity to the streets. Now, there's a lot of names that have been affiliated with this crew over the years, and this list is by no means a definitive list of everyone who has had something to do with NBA as a crew, so don't be offended if you got left off. But these are just some of the people who have played a major role in YoungBoy's crew and who play a relevant role in today's story. I'm talking about people like
I'm sorry,
NBA
guys. It's just the way this guy I saw, Trap Lore Ross, the person making this documentary. I didn't watch the video, but I saw like how he got a lot of death threats after this documentary. I wonder if those death threats were the people that he left out, or if it was just the false information that some of you guys have pointed out. I digress.
And apparently the two had a fight the first time that they met.
Man, 3 first cousins, blood. Like, we used to stay together. His mom and mom used to live together, so that's how I met 3. And D, I met that they had 3 hours. I met that. We had a fight the same day, you heard me?
But apparently after this fight, they would share a blunt and become good friends, going on to make money and catch cases together since they were just 12 years old.
We spoke the blunt, you heard me? Yeah, I became part of the NBA the same day, just like that.
How old I was like around that time?
I'd say probably finna turn 12 or 12.
Ben has been a key part of the collective since day one, with a huge presence on social media, particularly Instagram, where he would give exclusive insights and snippets into the world of Never Broke Again. 10 still posts regularly on Instagram despite his original account having been taken down, and he's even seen some recent success in his own right as a rapper, with songs such as Pain and Walking Dead amassing over 1 million views each. But he's also a loose cannon, and not somebody to be messed with. He was seen on IG Live with YoungBoy, Baby Joe, and other NBA members playing with guns, with Ben 10 letting off shots on IG Live, causing Baby Joe to duck for cover. BBG Baby Joe is another one of YoungBoy's cousins, who despite his young age, has lived through a lot, including a bullet to the face.
You know, you guys were on the freeway. I think it was you and 2 friends, and a car opened fire on you guys.
We were leaving Walmart. Everybody went and got some cake and ice cream for my baby for his birthday. When I walk out Walmart, I see this shit. You hear me? And then we didn't get, I ain't get shot on the interstate. I don't know where people get their information from. I was trying to was at the light, and then it just went like that. You hear me?
Despite facing serious danger in the streets, Baby Joe has been aiming to make a name for himself in the music industry and make himself some legitimate money. His 2018 song, Iraq, has over 5 million views, and as a beloved member of the NBA crew, Joe's name often pops up in YoungBoy's songs. And if these lyrics are anything to go by, it seems that Joe's relationship with the streets remains strong. Another key member of the crew is Meechie Baby. Well known as YoungBoy's raspy-voiced big cousin, he's best known for his early 2000s style song Cutlass, as well as his 2020 track with YoungBoy, Talk My, a track which has amassed an impressive 47 million views at the time of recording. YoungBoy has talked about hitting licks and doing burglaries with his older cousin Meechie on numerous occasions in his lyrics, leading some listeners to think that it was perhaps Meechie who had influenced YoungBoy's involvement with the streets in his early life. Then of course you have Big B, who picked up a lot of attention for his fire.
See, that's the thing though. Can we really put blame on any one person for involvement in the streets? I think, I hate to say it like this, but it's something that was bound to happen, you're in an environment and that is what everyone around you is doing. I feel like there are so many people that heavily influenced it, it was what he saw from the day he fucking came into the world, and it sucks. It's terrible, but I feel like, I don't know.
Verse on the NBA posse cut, That Gang, which picked up over 5 million views and also featured 3-3 and KD. Big B exhibits a more conventional rapping style compared to some other members of the NBA crew, with less laid-back melodies and catchy hooks, and more hard-hitting bars and punchy refrains delivered with aggressiveness and energy on the mic. There's NBA KD. He's known musically for his versatility and distinct flow, as well as a standout performance on their song That Gang. He also popped up with a verse on the song Extortion with Big B and 3-3, a track which got over 2 million views. His biggest solo track is the 2018 song When I Wake Up, and KD showed a lot of promise and potential in the early years of rap. Unfortunately, his momentum was derailed by a life-changing injury getting shot in 2019. Reportedly, after this incident, KD was confined to a wheelchair. However, there's been a lot of speculation as to whether he was walking again after a period of rehabilitation. Whilst that's not been confirmed, since the incident, he has remained firmly behind the scenes, but is a beloved member of NBA. Another major member of the crew is Herm the Black Sheep. Musically, fans appreciate Herm for his real and authentic lyrics and subject matter rather than his style or flow on the mic. And if the content of his lyrics are to be believed, he is certainly not one to be messed with. In the same vein, there's also Who Gang D, aka Lil D, or Skully. This is another cousin of YoungBoy with a serious reputation in the streets and his own budding rap career, with his catchy double-meaning titled song, Can't Go to Sleep, running up 1.6 million views at the time of this writing. Interestingly though, D wasn't even aware that he was YoungBoy's cousin when they first became friends, apparently only finding out later through his mother and grandfather.
Okay, to be fair, that's because, come on, I feel like that's just a black people thing. I have so many cousins I've never met in my fucking life, ever. People my father has never met. He's got 15 siblings on his father's side. I don't know any of them. I don't know any of their kids. We have some big ass families. It's crazy. Which is you hear those horror stories about down south, Mississippi, for example. People really be dating their cousins and they don't know it. Never know when you have family that you don't know. Y'all could be out here creating some cess babies. I'm just saying.
I didn't know he was my cousin at first.
Oh, really?
See, I was thugging with 3 at first. And then my mama had texted me when I was with him for a whole month straight, with YB for a month. She had texted me, she was she talked to my papa, and he told her that I had a cousin named NBA YoungBoy that rap. You get what I'm saying? And she was like, for real? That's crazy, he already be hanging with him.
He is apparently the survivor of a gunshot wound to the neck, with YoungBoy having dropped numerous lyrics complimenting D as a reliable shooter, even going as far in the song Bring the Hook to label him a headshot specialist. This is a skill that D himself all but admitted in his off-the-porch interview.
How'd you get the nickname Skully?
From this tattoo, I'm just saying like that. The gun, shooting the score.
Yeah.
Skully.
He's got a promising rap career, a likeable personality, and big potential to be a star on the mic if he can stay out of trouble. You've also got Lil Pap, Ben 10's little brother and a known shooter for the NBA crew in the streets. YoungBoy has mentioned him as being active in the streets in numerous songs, labeling him specifically as somebody who YoungBoy can call on for certain favors. And he recently got 5 years for his apparent involvement in the murder of TBG rival rapper G Money, which we will discuss in detail shortly. There's also NBA Chopper Boy, a big man with a big range in his vocals, bringing a great singing voice to the mic that serves to provide a canvas for his dark and menacing lyrics. Then you've got Barber, one of YoungBoy's frequently referenced shooters. Like Pap, Barber, or Baba Osama, is mentioned quite a bit in some of YoungBoy's most violent songs, with YoungBoy even rapping on the track Carter's Son that he calls up Baba to get the guns and go and rob people for him. Now, Baba has a pretty extensive rap sheet demonstrating just how active he was in the streets, and he's currently locked up on murder charges. But these aren't your average murder charges. It's actually been reported that Baba Osama is facing a whopping 9 counts of murder, with some recent posts on social media even suggesting that Baba Osama was actively working as a gang assassin or hitman, engaging in murder for hire for numerous gangs. Now, that's not necessarily everybody that's been involved with YoungBoy's NBA crew over the years, but they are the people that we'll be talking about most extensively in today's story. Clearly, YoungBoy's NBA crew are a group of young men coming out of some of the most difficult streets that the Deep South has to offer. Clearly, some of these guys aren't afraid to break the law and even kill to protect what's theirs. Whether that's their own lives, the lives of those around them, or the life of their top breadwinner, YoungBoy. The NBA crew are truly willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they indeed never go broke again. However, there's been a lot of confusion over the years, because as well as NBA, there's another group that YoungBoy and other NBA members shout out a lot, and that's 4K Trey, or 4KT. It would appear that while YoungBoy started his record label in the name NBA, or Never Broke Again, his affiliations to actual gangs in the streets of Baton Rouge goes by another name. YoungBoy has dropped numerous lyrics where he claims to be a member of the gang 4K Trey, who sometimes refer to themselves as Slimes. He's also made numerous references to being in America's infamous Blood Gang. Now, slime is a decades-old term that has been associated over the years with Blood Gang members. This term was initially brought to the public's attention by Blood rapper Vado, who released numerous projects that would reference slime, with the usage of the Blood slang slime and slat being popularized in mainstream modern rap music by Atlanta Blood rapper Young Thug, who is currently incarcerated awaiting trial for gang-affiliated charges. Now, this slime ideology essentially sees Blood members identifying under the color green rather than the traditional red bandana that Blood members are known to wear. And as YoungBoy got further into the music industry, he would seemingly build close relationships with other rappers who were known to affiliate with the Blood Gang or identified as Slime. People like Birdman, 21 Savage, and Young Thug himself. And as the years went by, YoungBoy would increasingly use his lyrics and music videos to shout out his affiliations to 4K Trey, the Blood Gang, or Slimes, even naming his Never Broke Again label compilation album Green Flag Activity, along with him and his crew frequently being seen in public with nothing but slime green bandanas and blue clothing. They would also sometimes refer to each other as fours for 4K Trey. However, for the specific explanation of the gang's name 4K Trey, this has been a mystery that has sparked debate amongst NBA fans for years. One popular theory is that it simply means 4 Kentrell, and that his 4KT gang are killing or shooting specifically for YoungBoy, or Kentrell. Another popular theory claims that 4KT actually stands for Forever Killing Them, a more general rallying cry against their ops. Other people think that 4KT actually relates to the names of YoungBoy's first children, with the first 4 of their names beginning with K and 1 beginning with T, with this being a more vanilla interpretation of the gang's name, suggesting that 4KT is a way of YoungBoy saying that he's essentially doing what he does for his children, whose initials are K and T. Another explanation circulates, suggesting that 4KT actually means 4 Crazy Trey. This is a
I'm sorry, y'all. There's a lot of fucking explanations for this shit. Is it important? What is the interpretation, y'all? Which one you think it is? Man has just listed at least 5. I'm focused. I'm locked in. I am. There's just a lot of detail in this, and I'm sure it's all about to make sense to me in a little bit. I'm sure this is just the alcohol talking. I'm gonna trust the process, but I just had to pop in here because I know y'all are with me. And I had to remind you to like the fucking video, you ops. Please. Thank you.
Reference to Crazy Trey, a young man from Baton Rouge who was gunned down at a party in 2014. He was apparently close friends with one of YoungBoy's biggest enemies from Baton Rouge, Fredo Bang, a detail which has led many to suggest that this actually couldn't possibly be the true meaning of 4K Trey, with some outright denying this explanation, suggesting that YoungBoy had not even yet associated with Fredo Bang at the time 4KT was founded. There's yet another theory that 4KT actually refers to YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla, who was killed in 2016, as his real name was Keandre, with a suggestion that 4K Trey actually was originally 4K Dre, or Keandre, but the Dre over time ended up being changed to Trey. Now look, at this stage, it's unclear exactly what 4K Trey stands for, but in the end, perhaps we aren't supposed to know the real meaning. And the idea that the true origins of this gang that YoungBoy supposedly affiliates with being shrouded in secrecy kinda makes perfect sense. After all, YoungBoy's artist Quando Rondo would even say in his song Way Up that he actually threw a girl out just for even asking what 4K Trey meant. Clearly it's a secret, and clearly I'm not supposed to know, which means you are definitely not supposed to know. But now you know the city, the gangs, the label, and the people behind the music, let's take a closer look at the story, the incredible ups, the devastating downs, and the lessons to be learned from YoungBoy's one-of-a-kind career and life journey.
Unleash your creativity with Creative Fabrica, your go-to place for all of your print-on-demand needs. Not sure where to begin? Creative Fabrica boasts an extensive library of millions.
After falling out with his old label and crew, TBG or Top Boy Gorillas, YoungBoy and his brother from another mother, OG3, would start their new crew, NBA, vowing to make it in the rap game and never go broke again.
From day one, that's where NBA started from, like, me and him sitting on that porch, like, really saying we wasn't trying to go broke no more.
The formation of his new NBA crew was announced with a bang when YoungBoy dropped his earliest surviving music video, the aptly titled NBA, on his own YouTube channel. That video saw YoungBoy and 33 surrounded by their NBA muscle all around 38th Street with all type of firearms. And the song itself came with lyrics where YoungBoy shouted out his shooter, NBA Pap, rapping that he sends Pap to go and hit people up, as well as shouting out another shooter as NBA Connor with the Mac 11, going on to describe his NBA shooters as being as proficient with firearms as Navy SEALs. He would also rap about the cops and his ops in the city trying to hunt him down, and naming NBA outright as the gang that he represents. YoungBoy's first ever mixtape, Life Before Fame, was launched under the TBG banner, the label Top Boy Gorillas, with their logo visible on the bottom left of the cover art. But by December 1st, 2015, YoungBoy was going at it alone under his new NBA banner, with a fresh mixtape, Mind of a Menace, being released fully independently and presented under the banner of his own NBA crew. And it would appear that YoungBoy and NBA were using this project as an opportunity to drop sneak disses and disrespect towards their former crew TBG. On the project, he would drop several lines that were directed towards TBG, suggesting that they envied him and that he wasn't willing to work under somebody else's administration. YoungBoy was beginning to build momentum independently of his former crew, and he'd keep his foot on the gas into 2016, following up his second mixtape with Speed. On April the 1st, 2016, only 4 months after Mind of a Menace dropped, YoungBoy blessed his budding fanbase with a sequel, Mind of a Menace 2, and on this project, he continued to drop shade on his former crew TBG. In the intro for this tape, he suggests that they didn't live up to their promises and says that he's ready to go to war with his former allies. Then in the song A Lot of Miles, YoungBoy explains that rather than switching on TBG like some say he did, he actually claims to have just gotten smarter and that he hasn't really changed at all, perhaps indicating that he felt he got smart to what was going on and realised that his career would benefit more as a free agent. YoungBoy would seemingly indicate his team's readiness to go to war with their former crew, on the track Fact, rapping that he's riding around with Pap, OG3, and guns, looking for their ops and aiming to make their guns go boom when they see them. Around this time, it seems clear that YoungBoy formed his winning strategy of flooding the internet with music through frequent mixtape releases. Less than 3 months after Mind of a Menace 2, YoungBoy would drop yet another mixtape, Before I Go, which was released on June the 27th, 2016. And on this project, YoungBoy would begin to drop hints alluding to the ongoing beef with G Money, the star rapper of his former crew TBG, Top Boy Gorillas. YoungBoy would also be shooting more threats to his former crew on the song Change, saying YoungBoy not TBG, and if someone plays, he's gonna get it. And another lyric on the song Change seemed to acknowledge a rumour that G Money had actually hooked up with YoungBoy's sister, with YoungBoy saying he won't speak on sleeping with my sister, something that perhaps wasn't public knowledge at the time of this song's release. But around a year later, G Money would openly admit and kind of brag about hooking up with YoungBoy's sister in a Say Cheese interview.
He met about his sister too though.
About his sister?
Yeah, I had a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
The beef between YoungBoy and G Money would be further complicated by YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla. Boozilla repped BBG, or Bottom Boy Gorillas. They were the main rivals of TBG until YoungBoy started his NBA crew. The story goes that G Money from TBG was beefing with Boozilla from BBG over some stolen drugs. drugs which some believe YoungBoy himself may have actually stolen, blaming Boozilla. This theory is based on lyrics G Money rapped on his song Industry, where he claimed YoungBoy's own cousin wanted to kill him. So, on July the 16th, 2016, YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla drops the song Forgive Me, where he's dissing TBG and repping BBG. He wears a BBG t-shirt in the video, and he shouts out the Bottom Boys as his crew. He'd rap lyrics seeming to suggest that he was a shooter and that he wants to kill a rapper. But more specifically, he dissed another local rapper by the name of FL Doosa. Doosa is from the FL, or Forever Loyalty crew, who would later be closely affiliated with TBG, with Doosa himself later dropping numerous songs with Fredo Bang, Lit Yoshi, and other TBG artists. In Boozilla's song Forgive Me, he raps that Doosa is scared to walk through the South, and that he's laying down the law in his area. Apparently the beef between Boozilla and Doosa was extremely personal and would eventually turn deadly. But before things would escalate to more violence, YoungBoy would end up making a huge leap forward in his rap career. On September the 21st, 2016, YoungBoy drops the video for his breakout track, 38 Baby. Named after the street he grew up on, Northside 38, this song was a window into his life, fresh out of the streets. The track painted a picture of his daily life, drinking lean, smoking with demons, and sending his hitters at people for any reason he can find, explaining how he's not able to go anywhere without being armed, and having to look out for old friends who turned on him over envy. Frankly, this song described a lot of pressure for a 16-year-old kid to be dealing with at the time. In the track, he also seemed to drop shade on G Money and TBG, denying their claims that they blew him up as a rapper and claiming that they just don't like the fact that he's now blowing up faster than them. The music video for 38 Baby saw YoungBoy and his friends toting plenty of firearms, and many people were taken aback by seeing somebody so young surrounded by so much danger and communicating the stark reality of their life so clearly over a catchy beat. Hell, footage would later even circulate showing that YoungBoy actually recorded many of the songs from around this period with an actual AK-47 on him in the recording booth. This 16-year-old YoungBoy was living a life truly beyond his years, and this spectacle would attract the attention of many, many more fans and music industry players. The song 38 Baby and its music video has garnered over 100 million views on YouTube to this day, and the song itself was followed by a full mixtape also titled 38 Baby, which dropped on October the 28th, 2016. This project would truly be the watershed moment of YoungBoy's career professionally, and he would finally get co-signs from respected rappers in the industry. As on the mixtape itself, YoungBoy secured collaborations with fellow Louisiana Baton Rouge legends such as Kevin Gates and Boosie Bad.
I love Kevin Gates and Boosie. I don't know why. I used to listen to Boosie hella when I was working out for no reason. I'd just be on the Stairmaster and like have some of his depressing ass songs like Cancer. I don't know why I used to listen to that shit like it was my real life for real. And Kevin Gates. I love Kevin Gates, but no one is ever recommending him. I did one Kevin Gates video and it didn't get much love, but I fuck with Kevin Gates. But I've heard like so much of his music, there's really no point in recommending him, but anyways.
As well as a verse from his day one brother OG3. In fact, Kevin Gates, after appearing on the 38 Baby mixtape track Like Me, even got a portrait of YoungBoy tattooed on his right leg just to show his admiration for the rising Louisiana legend. And Boosie would invite YoungBoy to feature on his November 2016 track My Lil Son, where YoungBoy rapped menacingly about sliding on his ops with NBA Joe and 3-3. But back to the 38 Baby mixtape. As well as gaining YoungBoy the respect of heavy hitters in the Baton Rouge rap scene, it also gained YoungBoy an enormous amount of fame and success in the eyes of his fanbase. But bizarrely, in very YoungBoy fashion, rather than reveling in the success of his latest release, just a week after the 38 Baby project dropped, he came out with yet another mixtape, Mind of a Menace 3, releasing on November the 4th, 2016. This time coming with yet another major industry cosign, a remix of his song Murder featuring Atlanta blood rapper 21 Savage, a remix which also dropped with a music video the very same day. YoungBoy even later claimed that he became a member of 21 Savage's set of the Blood Gang, 4L, and they seemingly fostered a close relationship, something which would unfortunately deteriorate years later. But regardless, at this point YoungBoy seemingly had fully muscled his way into the music industry, and it would be these major moves that would have YoungBoy's name ringing not just in the streets, but also in the corner offices of record labels. At a certain point in 2016, he started working with super manager Fee Banks, a Louisiana industry legend who had apparently helped Lil Wayne start Young Money and previously managed Kevin Gates. Fee would begin to advocate on behalf of YoungBoy in the music industry, ultimately putting him in the position to field multi-million-dollar offers from major record labels. So at this point, YoungBoy was seemingly set. He'd survived the dangerous streets of Northside 38, escaping the trenches with his life, and escaping the clutches of his former crew TBG, as a free agent able to take his career wherever he wanted without hindrance. The problem is, sometimes you can rise to the top so fast that it hurts. And unfortunately for YoungBoy, troubling legal issues seem to arrive just as quickly as the money and fame did. And unfortunately, due to the brewing troubles in the streets between his former crew and his extended family, YoungBoy would end up being placed in a difficult position, ultimately catching a serious case that had the potential to put a complete stop to his promising career just as it was getting started. While YoungBoy's star is beginning to rise, the deadly war on the streets of Baton Rouge is raging on. After departing from the crew TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, YoungBoy and his Never Broke Again or NBA collective would become bitter rivals with the former crew. And this situation was only complicated further by the ongoing drama between TBG and their original rivals BBG, Bottom Boy Gorillas, a crew which YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla was a prominent member of. Despite the two apparently having a falling out in 2015, it would seem that by 2016, Boozilla and YoungBoy's NBA crew had made things right, as Boozilla would post on Twitter that he'd forgiven, as well as tweeting warning people not to play with BBG or NBA, suggesting that these two crews were in alliance against TBG and any of their affiliates. But things would all come to a head for these warring groups at the end of 2016. On July the 16th, 2016, YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla drops the song Forgive Me, where he's dissing TBG and repping BBG, with lyrics in the song dissing another local rapper by the name of FL Dusa, saying Dusa is scared to walk through the South and that they're laying down the law in their area. It would seem that this lyric was taken as a personal challenge by his opposition, as just after midnight on November the 2nd, 2016, YoungBoy's cousin, 18-year-old BBG Boozilla, real name Keandre Ricks, would be riding his bike near the 2000 block of Nebraska Street, less than a block from his family home. And it was here where he was targeted by gunmen who shot him multiple times in the upper torso and left him dead in the middle of the street. Boozilla's mother would go on to do a distraught interview with WAFB News after reports of the brutal killing became public.
You gotta bury your child. This is so wrong when people kill people's kids.
Kenya Taylor is still grieving more than a month after her son, 18-year-old Keandre Ricks, was shot and killed just steps away from his Nebraska Street home.
It's like I'm dreaming and I haven't woke up yet. Like I had a bad dream. I'm just waiting on the Lord to wake me up.
Taylor walked us over to where her son's body was found, a place she's visited often, trying to make sense of the senseless killing.
Then this way he must have fell it right here, because they had blood all right here.
Now, after this shooting, things get very complicated.
It's so heartbreaking. Like, I cannot stress it enough. And it's like, one side of the fence, right, you can look at the situation and be like, that is the life that they chose. But at the same time, like, I don't know how to explain it, y'all. I feel the same way that I do for soldiers going to war, right? And somehow it seems in a lot of ways like we offer so much more sympathy for a circumstance like that. And it's like, that's seriously what is happening in so many communities. Like, it's war. Kill or be killed. And it's like, it's crazy that it happens so close to home and yet society just continues. You know, like, I don't know, it's just, oh my gosh, no mother should have to bury their child. And to think of like how many mothers up to this point have to bury their kids, it's just, oh my gosh.
It's widely believed that the murder of Boozilla was in connection with the ongoing feud that he had going with FL Dusa, with the majority of the comments on Boozilla's music video Forgive Me seeming to mock him, saying that he said Dusa is scared to walk through the South, and suggesting that this caused somebody to come through and take his life. Now, despite the differences they may have had in the past, naturally the murder of Boozilla would have devastating effects on his cousin YoungBoy and other members of NBA and BBG. So, unsurprisingly, it didn't take long for those on Boozilla's side to attempt to get revenge for his murder. Boozilla was killed around midnight on Wednesday the 2nd November 2016, and retaliation would come around 9.5 hours later, when around 9:30 AM, on the 2000 block of Kentucky Street, just a couple of blocks away from where the fatal shooting of Boozilla occurred, a vehicle containing YoungBoy and 3 of his NBA affiliates pulls up and starts shooting. Unfortunately, this attempt at revenge ends up going wrong, and somebody from YoungBoy's group ends up getting shot in the neck. Allegedly, NBA Joe.
Police find a man suffering from a gunshot wound to the neck, saying he was shot in a different neighborhood just a few streets away.
With rumors circulating, debating whether or not it was friendly fire from YoungBoy or his side hitting Joe, or the targets of their gunfire returning fire and connecting. And years later, the police report from the incident would even suggest that YoungBoy himself had been firing from the vehicle with an assault rifle. Regardless of exactly who was responsible, at this point the getaway car flees the scene, with the shooters and the injured man driving to the area of May and East Lakeshore Drive. Ultimately, this car would end up getting a flat tire and crashing at the LSU Lakes. Here, the shooters flee, leaving the injured man in his vehicle, where he's fortunately found by police and given medical attention. Naturally, it didn't take long for details of these outrageous back-to-back shootings to hit the news.
At this hour, there are a lot of questions remaining around two Baton Rouge shootings. One left a teenager dead, the other ended with the victim wounded at LSU Lakes.
Possibly 3 different scenes, and all 3 may be connected. That's what Baton Rouge police are trying to figure out. They've been interviewing witnesses, but so far they do not have any suspects. Just after midnight, Baton Rouge police went out to Nebraska Street. 18-year-old Keandre Ricks was found dead, lying in the street, shot multiple times in the chest. Neighbors in the area tell us they saw a silver-colored Hyundai with 3 people inside driving around the area late night and into this morning. Then, shortly after 9:30 this morning, police get a call from a man shot once in the neck around the LSU Lakes. When they finally found him, he was in a silver-colored Hyundai. He was transported to the hospital and listed in stable condition as of now. Baton Rouge police have said the shooting did not start here at the lakes. Instead, they're looking to see if 3 different scenes are all connected. The first was at Nebraska, well, just 8 streets over, or 0.4 miles away. Around 9:30 this morning, police say a man was shot in the neck. He, or the suspect, then drove 1.4 miles to East Lakeshore in May around the LSU Lakes and called police for help. This is not a random shooting. They believe the shooter and victim actually did know each other.
Surprisingly, however, the violence was still not over, and the following day, on the 3rd of November 2016, at roughly 9:49 a.m., shooters would return to the street where Boozilla lived with his family and was killed, with officers nearby claiming to have heard 37 gunshots, apparently fired by 2 shooters, who then fled the scene in a getaway vehicle. They would leave 2 homes on the street riddled with bullets, and at this point, the violence in Baton Rouge, held just in this street alone, was spiraling out of control. And at a certain point, the danger was so high that the authorities placed the local school on lockdown out of fear that further shootings would affect the children in the local community.
A number of schools in East Baton Rouge Parish are on lockdown, and for separate reasons today. We start with the 3 schools that were also placed on lockdown yesterday.
Police are still on scene here at the intersection of Nebraska and East Harrison Street. They're looking into reports of shots fired earlier today. Now you can see details are still very limited, but much of the investigation is centered around this white home here right near the intersection of East Harrison and Nebraska Street. This is the latest in a rash of recent shootings in this area over the past few days, including one that left an 18-year-old dead. The teen was found shot to death Wednesday in the 2000 block of Nebraska Street. That incident happened around midnight. Then yesterday morning around 9:30, a man was shot in the neck on Kentucky Street, which is just a couple of blocks from...
I feel like I'm repeating myself, honestly, but it's just so fucked up. This whole documentary, this whole situation, we're not even an hour into this thing, and it's like, to think that as a kid, I grew up in an area where school is on lockdown for practice tornado warnings, right? Just so out of touch with anything like this, right? And to think other children grew up where their school is on lockdown because bullets are just flying. I don't know. It's one of those things, right, where like I have so much faith in God, and I do understand his purpose for a lot of things, but there are some things where you just look and it's just like why? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just feels so unfair sometimes to know that I just happened to have my life the way it is just because that's where God placed my family. That's where, you know what I mean? Like, to have quite literally no control of the environment you come into this world and just have to make something out of it feels so incredibly just fucked up. I don't know how to explain it any further than that, but it just kind of leaves something in you that's just like, wow. You know, because I feel like I'm guilty of it, of turning a blind eye to a reality that isn't mine. You know, like, you see so many posts, you see so many faces on t-shirts, and it's like, it's so far from anything that affects my actual everyday life that it's just like, it goes off of my radar. And it goes off of so many people's radar, and it's just like a situation that continues to get worse and worse and worse. And it's like we've gotten so comfortable with it that it just continues.
The spot where that fatal shooting occurred, the victim left the area in a car and then parked around the LSU lakes to call for help. These recent violent incidents near Nebraska have left some residents feeling uneasy.
At this point, even people living on this street were being interviewed by the news, telling them that it's like living in hell.
I live on this street, and this is about the worst street to live on. You say living in hell? This is hell right here. The young folks don't have no respect for old eligible.
At some point, the shooting would stop, the smoke would clear, and local investigators would finally be able to piece together exactly what had happened and putting those involved in handcuffs. A 17-year-old man by the name of Trayshawn Coates would be arrested and charged with second-degree murder for the killing of Boozilla, along with a 27-year-old man by the name of Monty Carey. This was reported in The Advocate that also published an interview with Boozilla's mother. In it, she would claim that since the killing, her other children's grades have fallen in school and that they're suffering behavioural issues. And I thought that this was an important detail to include, because you have to remember that when somebody gets killed in a gang feud, it starts a chain reaction, and ultimately, this cycle of violence affects far more than just the victims. Whether it's their innocent relatives suffering depression following the incident, or surviving friends who vow to commit acts of violence in revenge, a vicious cycle is started when that first killing happens, that only accelerates with more retaliation, dragging more and more innocent people into this deadly cycle of violence. Anyway, despite the rumours that FL Dusa was involved in the killing of Boozilla after he dissed him on the song Forgive Me, Dusa, real name Renard Clifton, would not be connected to this incident officially, though theories would circulate online suggesting that he was the one that sent the hit. He would remain free following this incident, going on to release songs like Straight Facts. However, he would end up in jail on a separate attempted murder charge stemming from a double shooting on the 3rd of June 2018, which we'll go into in detail later. But with the shooters of Boozilla in cuffs, the Baton Rouge police would next be tasked with finding those NBA members who slid the following day, with one member who got shot in the neck already in the arms of law enforcement. Their next job was to get their hands on YoungBoy himself. A warrant was issued for his arrest, and he would be tracked down by authorities, being arrested on November the 28th, being taken into custody by US Marshals just before he could get on stage at a show in Austin, Texas, in dramatic scenes that were even caught on camera.
Hey, get inside, get inside. Hey, get the hell inside, get the fuck inside.
YoungBoy was charged on suspicion of attempted first-degree murder from the alleged drive-by shooting, while NBA Big B, real name Trulondrick Norman, was also involved in the shooting but wouldn't get arrested for his role in it until 2019. There was also NBA Ben 10, real name Ben Fields, who would also be identified as having participated in this drive-by shooting. As a result, following the arrest of the NBA crew and YoungBoy himself, the local news would begin to report on this dramatic takedown of one of Baton Rouge's most promising rappers.
17-year-old rapper Kentrell Gaulden, better known by his stage name NBA YoungBoy, is behind bars tonight after being taken into custody by federal authorities before a concert in Austin, Texas.
Tonight, police say they've arrested 17-year-old Kentrell Gaulden, a rapper known by his stage name NBA YoungBoy, in connection to a drive-by shooting on Kentucky Street. Detectives believe those shootings may have been in retaliation to Rick's death and say more arrests are possible as they continue to investigate.
At this point, YoungBoy would be taken back to Louisiana and booked into prison with a $200,000 bond being set. But the Baton Rouge police weren't done seeking justice yet, as the final piece of the puzzle would fall into place once police announced an arrest in the third shooting, which occurred on Boozilla Street the day after NBA members had attempted to get revenge for his death the previous night, with cops identifying 20-year-old Derek Geis, who was taken into custody, accused of being the getaway driver for two other shooters, being charged with attempted murder, attempted second-degree murder, aggravated criminal damage of property, illegal use of a weapon, and simple criminal damage to property. And he would ultimately end up pleading down to a lesser weapons charge and getting only 2 years in jail, with cops ultimately identifying one of the shooters in the case as Michael Odenyinma, as well as, shockingly, Trayshawn Coates, that very same person who was charged for the Boozilla murder just the day before. Which means that if true, the person that killed Boozilla did it, got spun on by NBA, and still went back the very next day and shot up that same block again. But unfortunately, due to him being just age 17, there was never any public reporting on whether or not he was found guilty for these crimes or sentenced. The murder of Boozilla and days of deadly violence that followed truly rocked this Baton Rouge community, as well as those connected to the victims. Many NBA members would get RIP Boo tattoos on their necks, and others would be seen toting guns at Boozilla's grave. Regular celebrations would be held called Boo Day on his birthday in his honor, and at the 2018 celebration of Boozilla's life, his mother would speak to a crowd, delivering some poignant words to a number of friends and family who had gathered in the area.
It's just my baby time to go. Yes, it hurts. But the good Lord called him home, so he in a better place. And if they asked him to come back here, he wouldn't even much want to come back here. He just gonna wait on us to come up there, so y'all gotta do good, so y'all can make it to heaven. He was like, do this for the Lord. I know a lot of people out here doing a lot of stupid things, and I ain't gonna tell y'all don't handle y'all business, but if they ain't coming at you, don't worry about it. But if they come at you, you handle your business. That's all I can tell you. But all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pray for all of y'all. Pray y'all make it home safe and pray for y'all every day. Because I don't want nobody to go through what I'm going through, because this really hurts. This like about to send me insane. Like some days I do good and some days I have my bad days, and today just a good day. But I don't want to see nobody mama going through what I'm going through, nobody's siblings, nobody's family, nothing, because that really hurts. They like when somebody do things like that, change a person's whole life. You think you don't hurt that person, you ain't hurting that person because it ain't meant for them to be here, they gonna leave here. So that person at peace. But that person's family is suffering. So all I want y'all to do is do good, get y'all education, be the best y'all can be. The sky's the limit. Whatever y'all want to do, y'all do.
It's important to remember that no matter how many songs or social media...
Oh my... Y'all... Mothers are just a surreal being. I don't know what it is. God just took extra time on moms, because for her to be able to stand there a year later with so much strength, even knowing how much hurt. Oh my gosh, it's just, I don't want to keep saying it's sad, because we know it's sad, but it's just the thought that him being in heaven, truthfully, is probably the best case scenario for his life. You know, like so much better than anything that Earth has to offer. It's like, oh my goodness.
Posts glamorize the sliding that goes on between these gangs. Behind this are grieving families, mothers and siblings who have to live with the consequences of these split-second decisions. And as she said, when somebody dies in the gang wars, that person who died is at peace. It's everyone else who was innocent to the original beef that has to live on with the grief of someone else's impulsive decisions. Sadly, it would take many years for YoungBoy to realize the consequences of the violence playing out in his music and in his life. But for now, he would be stuck in the system waiting for a chance to plead his case in front of a judge. At the time of these charges, YoungBoy was only 17 years old, but Louisiana is one of the few states in the US where 17-year-olds can be charged as adults. And so, YoungBoy spent December 2016 to August 2017 incarcerated, waiting for updates on his case. But at least for the fans, it wasn't all bad, because while YoungBoy was locked up, his management team got to work and did their best to keep his music career alive. They created an updated version of his previous project, Before I Go, re-releasing it as Before I Go Reloaded, removing the songs Stuck With Me, Change, and All Night, and adding that 21 Savage remix of Murder, along with the track Bands and Fact. Then, on April the 14th, 2017, the label also released a reloaded version of his Mind of a Menace 3 mixtape, which removed the Murder remix with 21 Savage because they just put it on the Before I Go Reloaded mixtape, as well as taking off the tracks Life and Booting in this, and adding the tracks Blowing Up and Just Made a Play featuring Moneybagg Yo. So, while YoungBoy was sitting in jail, all of these songs that were being released were picking up heat in the streets, and fans would eagerly await his release. And eventually, to some people's surprise, YoungBoy was actually able to cut a pretty favourable deal with prosecutors, copping to the lesser charge of aggravated assault with a firearm. On August the 22nd, 2017, YoungBoy was sentenced to a term of 10 years suspended prison time and 3 years of active supervised probation, which essentially meant that he was able to get out of jail and return to his music career. But the potential to have to go back and serve a full 10 years in prison would now follow him around for 3 years, along with a probation officer who would be closely supervising his every move going forward. In addition to that, he was also ordered to pay a fine of $5,000 and do 250 hours of supervised community service, which apparently even included doing an anti-violence PSA, which to the disappointment of fans everywhere, never seemed to actually surface publicly. But YoungBoy wouldn't simply waltz out of the courtroom, because apparently during that sentence, he had what was described as a tense but respectful back and forth with District Judge Bonnie Jackson. Apparently during the case, she admonished him for going out with his boys looking for trouble and finding it. But YoungBoy, to his credit, kept his cool during this exchange, taking full responsibility for everything that had gone down in the incident. Judge Jackson went on to say that she didn't care about YoungBoy's celebrity status and suggested that his rap music wasn't helping the high rates of violence in the community that he was coming out of. The judge would tell him directly that the genre of music that he makes has a lot to do with the mindset that people have, suggesting that it normalized violence. Apparently, YoungBoy actually interjected at this point, reminding the judge that nobody had actually died in the incident, with the judge clapping back, saying that he's lucky that he's such a bad aim and that he wasn't facing first-degree murder charges. It's also worth pointing out that the court did hear about how YoungBoy had been trying to make a difference in his community by looking after his mother, buying her a home, and giving out school supplies to local children. The judge would then make a smearing and condescending remark about the fact that YoungBoy had 3 kids at 17 years old. In response to that dig by the judge, YoungBoy promised to do right by his family, and once YoungBoy accepted his plea, he would be released from jail ahead of the actual sentencing.
Auntie Jackie was not playing. Miss Judge was not playing. She said, "You're a terrible shot. You're a whore on these streets. And your music is the reason people think like you." Well, shit.
By hotshot rappers like Boosie and Young Dolph, YoungBoy would be seen fresh home on social media, being greeted by his NBA crew, and rocking the same Burberry button-up shirt that he was booked for the crime in.
Say where my new boys at, man? On Montana. What up, Meg, man? What's up, baby? I'm coolin', man. I was in Texas, man. We got to see what the deal is.
Being greeted outside jail by Montana in a white Maybach.
Best feeling ever. We got KD right there, we got David, we got Max Harden. Man, you know what it is, man.
YoungBoy was fresh home, and music would be the first thing on his mind. He would be seen filming freestyles in the same outfit and surrounded by his crew and manager Big Dump.
Call 3 years, tell them I don't want to chat in the studio with Shade, in the studio with Strange on the grind every day. I've been chasing that sack real 38, baby. I'm from College Track.
His first major release since his release would be the biggest song of his career so far, the track Untouchable. This was a big single where YoungBoy spoke optimistically about making it out of the struggle of the Baton Rouge streets and vowing to make the most of this opportunity that he had to make it through music, and declaring his intention to move out of Baton Rouge to Los Angeles, where he would hope that he no longer needs to carry a gun. Untouchable ended up hitting number 95 on the Billboard charts, becoming YoungBoy's first solo single to chart in the United States. By August 2017, YoungBoy was back in the studio, ready to focus on his music career, despite the prying eyes of a probation officer set to be following him for the coming years. So, following the successful release of Untouchable, YoungBoy's team would drop his latest mixtape, AI YoungBoy, on August 4th, 2017, a project which would end up landing at the impressive number 24 on Billboard's 200 album chart. This also included another popular single, the track No Smoke, which surpassed Untouchable and ended up landing at number 61 on Billboard's Hot 100 singles chart. YoungBoy was storming the charts and seemingly attracting the attention of both labels and other rappers. Funnily enough, on the song GG, YoungBoy seemed to suggest that Chicago rapper Lil Durk and his collective had tried to sign him to his crew and record label OTF, or Only the Family, but YoungBoy would have bigger ideas than signing to another rapper, as only days after YoungBoy's sentencing went public, it would then be announced that he had officially signed to Atlantic Records in a huge 5-album contract reportedly worth $2 million. And YoungBoy would seemingly celebrate this deal by purchasing a tiger and telling fans that he got paid a big bag.
I'm like, you pay me.
You pay me.
I got that bag, I'm getting paid for everything I do.
So, despite losing his cousin Boozilla and very nearly losing his freedom attempting to get revenge, in the end, YoungBoy would escape a long prison sentence, returning to the music career that was buzzing before he went to jail and taking it to new heights, landing chart positions on Billboard and a multi-million-dollar deal with a major record label. Things were on the up for the NBA crew, but despite the wins they were having in the industry, there would still be tension in the streets, as YoungBoy had a whole host of enemies who would be dissing him while he was locked up, and desperate to see him fall when he was released, with the NBA crew ultimately taking drastic action to protect their star prospect. Began picking up steam as a rapper in Baton Rouge. Naturally, he attracted a lot of opposition. After parting ways with former street crew turned label TBG Top Boy Gorilla, he would find himself at war with their main artists G Money and Fredo Bang. But they wouldn't be the only enemies that YoungBoy would make in the city. In November 2015, YoungBoy dropped a song called Homicide, a collaboration with another Baton Rouge rapper by the name of Scotty Kane. They would appear together on the song and in the music video, and apparently YoungBoy would become friends with Kane. But later, they had a falling out, with some suggesting that Kane may have felt slighted by lyrics on his song So Long, where YoungBoy rapped that he blew up in his city and that he was getting views even without the song with Scotty. This was followed by an IG live clip where YoungBoy would rap lyrics saying that someone changed on him. Apparently at some point, Scotty Kane caught YoungBoy in a studio and slapped him, later taking to social media to explain his side of the story, saying that YoungBoy had begged him for a verse and after asked him for money for shoes, and saying that he was trying to get close to Scotty Kane's crew because he had fallen out with TBG, with Kane even going as far as to tell YoungBoy if he really has money, then send a hit and kill him.
I'ma address the situation like a man. The bitch ass rolled my cousin. Y'all came to the studio, he begged me to do the first verse. I did not want to do it, I thought about it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get a chance. I did the verse, your bitch ass asked me to put some on your shoes. You not with my label, bitch ass, so you. I'm doing, what I'm going to have with you on shoes and videos for? It was over there riding TBG, they wanted to raw your ass out. Now your ass come trying to rap mafia music. Now you get on and do all this. You got bread, kill it. Drop your bread, man, what the don't do all that. Kill me, come see me. Living like that, cause you know me. I'm living like that all day, every day. You know how I'm coming.
In response to this deadly threat from Kane, YoungBoy would reply to this by rapping more lyrics from the song Gravity and showing that he had goons behind him ready to shoot.
Yeah, and I don't owe nobody but my mama, boy, and my they was doing super honey, boy. Remember, I ain't had nothing to eat, I go steal for it. Show you my bank account, I swear I got 6 figures large. Around me, they hating, probably won't snake me for it. These under the skies, living under the board. I hate these they wasn't made for it. Lord, please don't mistake me, play gon' die, cause I ain't going for it. In this life that I'm living, I pray I make it through the night. As I ride through my city, I'm thinking, looking at the lights.
YoungBoy would appear to address the incident on the song Who You Supposed to Be, admitting that he was sent an address where he pulled up and where he was confronted by 3 people, and seemingly admitting to crying when they pulled out guns on him, but still mocking them for not using the guns, and ending the track seemingly threatening to kill Scotty Kane. Later on, Pablo El Chapo, who had apparently intervened in this incident where guns had been pulled on YoungBoy in a studio, posted a clip to social media seemingly confirming that YoungBoy cried and suggesting that he had saved his life.
But I do know, little young boy, when pulling rods on your ass, you was crying in that studio. I saved your fucking life. I told my younger man, leave that slide, bro. That crying, man. Crying in front of his manager, man. Let slide. He ain't about that gang shit. Y'all asked him to fight, he won't fight. Then when he brought up the gun, we could do it with the gun. Pulled 3 guns in your face, you was crying. Ass boy.
Kane would actually respond to YoungBoy in a diss track of his own, only days after his cousin Boozilla was gunned down. Scotty Kane would drop the YoungBoy diss track NBA Smoke, produced by prolific TBG producer Austin on the Track. On this track, Kane would return YoungBoy's death threats with threats of his own, as well as saying that somebody killed Boozilla and he didn't do anything about it. Kind of an ironic lyric, considering that a month after this song dropped, YoungBoy would indeed be charged with double attempted murder, attempting to do something about Boozilla. But while YoungBoy was in jail for doing exactly that, Scotty would drop a video on Instagram seemingly distancing himself from this beef.
Hey look man, I'm on the road to success, man. I ain't with none of that. Y'all can have it. I ain't
what?
I ain't trying to kill none of you. I ain't trying to do none of that with none of you, man. Y'all can have it. Son, I got kids. I got so much going on good.
Okay.
Like, it's a lot happening right now. I ain't with no cop and deuces and nothing. I just ain't with it. Like, I ain't having this. Like, I don't need to be doing all this dumb. Like, I gotta do this for my kids and my family and everybody else that love me, dog. Like, all y'all can have it. And y'all want it, y'all can have it.
And he would go on to say in an interview with Gutter TV that he regretted dropping his death-threatening YoungBoy diss, NBA Smoke.
Like, I ain't gonna lie, even though NBA Smoke did so many views, I regret it. You feel me? Like, I'ma honestly say that. Like, I didn't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's certain shit that you gotta, I feel like that was my flaw, that song, you feel me? So, y'all saying that raw and all that did try to do this and that. I don't even like the song, tell the truth. I hate that. I don't care how many views they got on it, you feel me?
However, the beef would be reignited when YoungBoy returned home from jail. Scotty Kane would post a clip to social media showcasing a long set of both bankrolls and fingernails and saying, "Get your cash, you don't get any money."
Boy, get your cash up, bro. You ain't get no.
This would attract a response from OG3, who posted a picture of YoungBoy with money and a caption saying what Kane was holding ain't half of what YoungBoy's holding. This would apparently prompt a response from Kane, where he said that OG3 was holding his big dog's money. Now, I couldn't actually find that post, but YoungBoy seemingly responded from the back of his Maybach, even dragging his manager Fee Banks into the situation.
I don't know what the wrong thing. Listen to my music, be on my got a free young boy. It is say Fee. Man, you better tell him I ain't got no big dogs, man. Everything in my pocket for me. Wrong these, man. Tripping, boy, get off my. You know what it is.
Apparently, a few months later, Scotty got his chain taken, and YoungBoy would clown him online immediately after the thieves exposed that they had taken his chain.
Boy, I damn gonna take anything off my nigga.
However, something else would also happen during this beef that would appear to be much more sinister. A prominent producer for TBG, Austin on the Track, who had made numerous beats for songs made by YoungBoy's biggest rival G Money and Scotty Kane himself, as well as landing credits for Chicago rappers like G Herbo. Austin on the Track was quite literally the person who made the beat for Scotty Kane's NBA YoungBoy diss track NBA Smoke. Well, at around 7 PM on the 10th of August 2017, TBG affiliated producer Austin on the Track, real name Austin Rashad Norwood, was sitting in a car with another person outside the Ardenwood Village apartment complex on North Ardenwood Drive. At this point, somebody turned up and sprayed the car with bullets, after which the suspected shooter fled the scene in a car before crashing and escaping on foot. This would leave the passenger injured and Austin himself dead at the scene. This was a brutal assassination, with investigators being seen examining the bullet-riddled scene. But in a chilling turn of events, the body of Austin would even be left in place in the driver's seat of the car, which was towed away from the murder scene, with detectives claiming that the entire car with the body inside it had become a crime scene and would need to be moved with the body to a controlled environment so that they could process all of the DNA evidence. Police would ultimately describe the murder.
Where did they do that truthfully? Like, I'm asking honestly. I have never seen a situation in which they take the car with the body in it. Ever. Okay.
As a suspected robbery, with cops claiming that Austin and his cousin had gone to an address to sell a cell phone that they had advertised online, a situation described on the news as a setup.
A man is shot and killed while trying to sell a phone on North Ardenwood Drive last night.
2 men shot after police say they were lured to the Ardenwood Village apartments in hopes of selling a cell phone to someone they met online. At some point, that transaction taking a dark turn.
While there, the individuals attempted to rob them, shot into the vehicle, striking both victims.
With the victims left for dead inside the car, the suspected shooter allegedly took off. Sergeant L.J. McNeely says for now, it's unclear if whoever pulled the trigger acted alone.
We're just keeping it open-ended and not going to dictate if it's 1, 2, or 3, 4 different suspects. But as the investigation continues, we'll determine all the individuals that was involved.
Now, as far as I was able to find out, this murder was never solved. And once again, let me make it very clear, there's nothing connecting YoungBoy or the NBA crew to this crime, but it's certainly yet another case of somebody involved closely in the rap scene in Baton Rouge, in this case, the producer of prominent YoungBoy diss tracks, who seemingly wound up losing his life in a brutal gangland-style slaying, with the police none the wiser as to who was responsible. A month after this brutal murder, in September, it was believed that Scotty Kane and YoungBoy would finally squash their beef, after Scotty Kane posted a picture of them together on a FaceTime call, along with a caption suggesting that they were on positive terms and both focused on earning money and success rather than beef. Though it would seem that the NBA crew would eventually have the last laugh, as many years later, Scotty Kane would get a taste of his own medicine. He himself ultimately wound up getting jumped on camera in a studio, just like YoungBoy did. And OG3 would later even be seen on social media with the person who had allegedly jumped Kane. Fortunately for YoungBoy, the Scotty Kane beef would be resolved without anyone losing their life. Sadly, however, not everyone would be so lucky.
Okay, so far, y'all. What am I looking at? Okay, so far, y'all, I will say this. I feel like this documentary is very thoroughly and well done, but I do feel like there's like repeated information a bit. I understand, like, in the first hour, I guess, he's just kind of giving you a layout of everything that's going to be discussed. But I do feel like this could have been shortened up quite a bit without some of the information that seems like it's not necessary to YoungBoy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like he could have organized this better so that it's just a little bit more straight to the point. That's my only, little gripe about it so far, because I feel like we've repeated a lot of things that didn't need to be repeated. We could have gotten further in this storytelling by now.
The most prominent beef that YoungBoy was involved in during his rise to fame was with G Money. Real name Garrett Burton, he was a former friend and a star over at YoungBoy's former label, TBG. YoungBoy's other biggest opposition, Scotty Kane, would release the scathing YoungBoy diss track NBA Smoke just days after YoungBoy's cousin Boozilla got killed. And while YoungBoy ended up in jail on attempted murder charges for attempting to avenge Boozilla, G Money was linking up with YoungBoy's ops and building a...
Okay, y'all. Don't hate me, but we're going into G Money territory. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I said both things last time, but King Von, I'm pretty sure, is who G Money is connected to, correct? I'm almost positive. His face, like I said, is so familiar to me. I'm pretty sure it was King Von's documentary that I'm remembering him from. Anyways, guys, don't hate me, but I do have other reactions to film as well as this. Part 3 will be dropped on Saturday. You don't need to tell me. I got it. Your girl has to work, y'all. I have to work, okay? YouTube is not my job. It's a hobby. So y'all get these videos when you get them. But make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you've left a little comment. And I will see you all in part 3. Bye, kids.